everybody. I'm really happy to be with you today and share one of my sister coaches. I just love her to pieces. She's meant a lot to my own life, and we're going to talk about a tool or concept that she created that I just love, and you're going to love it too. Her name is Beth Ellen. Her business is Beth Ellen Coaching. It's bethellencoaching.com. She's also the head coach at Rori Raye Siren Circle, which I'm also a coach there as well. And Beth Ellen feels passionate serving others, especially in relationships of any kind. And she just likes to see people getting along and be happy. So welcome, Beth Ellen.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm so glad you're here. The concept that you talk about, that it was very new to me, and it's to me it was putting the right ingredients in. So I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's what I want to talk to you about today. So what do you call it?
Well, I honestly I haven't had an official name for it. However, when I am coaching with someone and they're feeling frustrated or upset that they're not getting the result they want, then we start talking about what ingredients are they using and what is it that they're wanting to have. And for where they're trying to get to, are they putting the right ingredients or the right amount of ingredients, the right quality of ingredients into the recipe for the result they're wanting to have.
All
Yeah.
right, so can you give us an example
Okay.
of?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So, for example, if someone's having a relationship, we work a lot with women. And So if someone is feeling like their man is not paying enough attention to them, and they're just saying, why don't you do this and why don't you do that, and kind of it may come across as a criticism to the man, and whether it's her husband or boyfriend, or it's just a date. And so when a man feels like he can't win, a lot of times he'll just stop. And so I just try to highlight the positives of what he's doing, and help the woman to, just kind of highlight that verbally and put those ingredients into her conversation. So, and then sometimes, oh, go ahead. I see.
I
Sure.
wanted to interject something just to kind of
Yeah,
give a little bit more context to the people that are listening and watching,
sure. Sure.
because men value respect.
Mhm.
And that's like, would you say their number one priority?
Yeah, that's how they feel loved. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. And
So,
then men feel it differently, like depending on the man, respect for one man could feel differently than to another. And so you kind of have to just be willing to take the time to listen. Men generally say what they really want. They're not really into, if we say, hey, how's it going? Oh, fine. If they say, oh, fine, they're fine, you know. But a lot of times we want to, as women in general, we want to, figure things out and fix it. And that may be too much. Like, that's too much stirring. You don't need to stir a cake a whole lot. It'll get tough and it won't rise right. And so if we stir them up too much by trying to, we feel like we're being loving, and it may feel just too much, overwhelming in a sense for him. We're putting in the wrong ingredients or the wrong amount. So yeah.
well, also, I've been teaching the women in my group about feminine, masculine energy. A lot of them, it's totally brand new concepts. And when we're jumping in there and trying to fix things and figure things out like that, we're in our masculine energy. So then the man, it's masculine against masculine, and it
Yeah.
it turns into butting heads. And that's
Yeah.
the wrong ingredient.
Right. Absolutely. And you bring up a good point, Brenda, because a lot of us ladies, we're kind of, we kind of kick butt in whatever it is that we're doing. So we're used to using that masculine energy to get things done. And, we can see a lot of things, how we can benefit or complement. And why not just allow him to be the man for the relationship? And honestly, our men don't really want to, sleep with a masculine woman. If you want a masculine man. Now it's different if somebody, wants to have more of a masculine dominating woman. That's fine. But just the kind of example we're talking about is with the more masculine man. He wants to be able to touch, a woman who feels soft in her energy as well as, her body, and he wants to be able to feel that they can connect, and feel that she can be in touch with how she feels, because then he can feel safe to share how he feels. So yeah.
Yeah. So getting back to us being in that mode where we want to strategize and to fix it. So you're saying in terms of ingredients.
Mhm. In terms of ingredients, if we want to fix things, I would say, you prepare the recipe when he's not there in the room. So if you want to get yourself ready, you want to look real pretty, you want to put on your perfume, you want to, um, maybe you want to make something nice for him, or you want to even plan an activity. If he's on board and you want to plan something, you can go ahead and masculine mode and do it and do it and do it. But when he shows up, it's the time to just pause, stop, allow him to fill in the space. If we keep going, if we keep chopping up more onions and adding it to whatever we're cooking, if we add, I love garlic, but you can still have too much.
Mhm.
I like salt, not the best for you if you have too much. So we can do things too much, all with a good intention. And a lot of times, a real mature man can say, hey, babe, you know what? I know you can do this, but let me, I want to do this for you. Those are great, but some men, they don't think to say something, not because anything's wrong with them, but they're just kind of shut down, maybe a little, they get kind of put off by it. So definitely with the ingredients, we can be masculine in whatever we're wanting to do, our career, even in our relationship, we're getting ready. It's just when we show up to be with them, and maybe you're driving to meet up with him. You're planning some kind of vacation, or you guys are doing some kind of activity with the kids. You can definitely be in masculine mode preparation. But when you're with him, allow him to show up and step up for you. And then if he does not, that's where you get to share how you feel. And you just sprinkle it lightly. This is where you sprinkle a little garnish on top. You're not, everything doesn't need to be seared. Everything doesn't need to be blackened in the skillet. Sometimes it's just a nice little sprinkle, the garnish on top or on the side, just letting him know, oh, babe, this feels so good to be with you. And I love it when you open the door for me. Or remember the time our first date, could we do that again? And a lot of times he'll want to do what you like if he knows he's going to win. Men love to win. If that feels good, if it's, they feel like they're winning in the relationship, they'll want to show up more for it. A healthy man. Let me just say that.
Yeah, a man that's ready to lead. You know what I love, that you say to prepare, like a sous chef, is getting things ready and making sure that you've got your vibe straightened out
Yes.
first.
Yes.
So
Let me tell you, Brenda. So last Saturday, I had a hot date that was all day long. It was
ooh,
really, really cool. And
juicy.
it was a first date too. So it felt really exciting. The gentleman, he really showed up ahead of time. First, we did have, a couple conversations by phone. And then he texted me one day. He said, do you like, we had plans for the weekend. And then he says during a couple days later, do you like wine? And I said, sure, as long as it doesn't feel bitey. And I even acknowledged I don't know too much about wine, but I'm happy to learn. And so, there I am. I'm being kind of feminine. I'm not trying to tell him what to do. I'm not telling him which ones to get. I shared with him. I like wine if it doesn't feel bitey. So I gave a little. My ingredient was responding to his question, sharing how I felt and staying open. I mean, that's a wonderful, like when you talk about like aromas and those, some meals, it might just be a little bit of something on a plate, but the flavors really, when you take a bite, you're like, it just feels so good. So I gave him information, but it was to the point in a loving way. And I stayed open. I said, I feel happy to learn, because who knows, maybe he likes wine a lot. So then he changes his mind and he says, you know what? I was just given a membership for my birthday to this whiskey place. So we'll go to a whiskey tasting. Now, when I think of whiskey, I think of my face scrunching up, and I'm not really a whiskey girl. I love mixed drinks like a lemon drop I love sweets. So I was like, sure, that feels fun. And it did feel fun. It felt like an adventure to me, and um, we had a great time. And I had never had it before. I'd never learned about whiskey. Yes, but it was such an experience. I was able to be present. So my ingredients were being present. My ingredients were being allowing him to take me somewhere to something that he likes to do, to learn something about him, and then as we were talking, I shared some about me. And so there's balance there. But getting ready, I was running around. I was trying to hurry up. I was looking, what am I going to wear? And I thought about what I was going to wear the day before. Then got to fluff the hair. Well, I had to wash the hair and I had to sit under the dryer because I had really thick curly hair. I mean, and so I was masculine, masculine, masculine. I was all the way shaving the legs, body scrub, I was doing it all, but it was fun. I got to use my masculine energy to prepare and to get myself ready. And and he loved it. He was like, wow, you look great, you look amazing. And I felt special, I felt adored, and I was, thank you, and I had a great time, enjoying him, what he likes to do. And and that's where the dance comes in and the balance. You want to cook it a little while, let whatever your entree, whatever you're making, it wasn't all about him. I wasn't just deflecting everything. When he asked me something, I made an effort to really sit back and feel. Sometimes I blushed. Sometimes, I was giggling. I was like, oh gosh, because I felt excited to be with this man. And at the same time, I showed an interest in his life. And so that's just, having the balance and not adding too much of one thing over another. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like a good time. One of the situations that comes up a lot is a woman hasn't heard from a man in a while. And she's kind of on the edge of her seat and like, should I text him? Should I not? Like, so I want to go a little deeper.
Okay.
And in terms of the right ingredients, can you like
Okay.
go there with that?
Sure, sure. Well, first of all, anytime we're in that kind of a situation, it feels awful. I know how that feels. And I know for guys, it can feel awful as well when they're really interested in a woman, or a young lady, and she doesn't respond. And he's like, dang, I mean, what am I supposed to do? And I think that we could all just really, kind of step back, just and sometimes you have to physically, let me step back.
Yeah, I
Let
just
me
did
just
that
step back.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And put the phone down. And the hard part is we have cell phones, so we can carry it everywhere with us. And we can look at it, we can look at it, and we can look at it. But sometimes we have to just let it rest. And so if I think about, if I'm going to compare that maybe to an ingredient, or if I'm making something, I might think about making bread. And sometimes you can actually apply a recipe, whether you've ever made it before or not. You just kind of imagine what it takes to do that. So when I imagine making bread, and I have made bread before, it's been a long, long time, but you mix the yeast, and you have to you in with some of the ingredients, the flour and so forth, but you have to let it sit and rest
Ah,
and rise.
I love this.
Yeah. So,
Love it.
and then sometimes, so like where I live on the West Coast in the Northwest, and it can be kind of drafty. I have an old place. And so the walls, you can feel the coolness come through the walls. So if I'm making some bread in the fall or winter time, I have to make sure that I put a towel over the bowl,
Mhm.
and I might even put it in the oven so there's no additional breeze coming through to affect it. So how does that relate to us? Well, I'm waiting for this phone call. I'm staring at my phone, and I have to say, okay, fine. I've put it out there. So you can put it out there, whatever works best for you. So everybody has a different way. I'm a praying, meditating, spiritual person. You can say your universe, you're inside, whatever it is, when you get you get quiet and you're kind of feeling yourself, you go to that and you just say, okay, I really want to hear from him. And then you kind of tweak it, because you don't want to be wanting in a sense from a place of lack. And I like to want something from a place of feeling good.
Mhm.
So then if I'm wanting from lack and kind of hoping and wishing and yearning, then I'll switch. And that's where the ingredient kind of becomes, is it a quality ingredient? Like wanting and from a place of lack, it's not the one I want to use. If that means it's expired, maybe it needs to be
Ah,
tossed out. Maybe it needs to be put back on the shelf for a different, item you're going to make, but not for this, not for today. So I might then pull out and say, I tweak myself and say, okay, so from I'm wanting to hear from him, and it doesn't feel so good, to it would feel really great to hear from him.
that's
That feels
desire.
better. What's that?
Desire.
Yeah, and it feels better, like my life isn't depending upon if I hear from him or not. So then already my vibe has shifted,
Yeah.
my energy shifts. So, okay, it would feel really great to hear from him. Now I can go ahead, put the phone down, and I walk away and let it rest. And I'll go do something that feels good for me. Maybe I'll call a friend and say, hey, you want to go for a walk? Want to get a bite to eat? But I won't talk about the relationship and what I'm wanting with the man, because that can just have you just spiral right back down, and you're stirring too much and kneading too much. You could ruin the dish. So you just leave it alone. Maybe I'll just take a walk. Maybe I'll even take a nap. Sometimes I drink a glass of water and I'll take a nap. So you have to allow yourself the time to rest and regroup, because if you make a decision from that kind of anxious feeling, heightened, I got to make it happen, I need to hear from him, you might send a text, and then you regret it later. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out if you want to reach out, but you got to make sure you're going to feel good about it later. So, you know, so then it rises, and then so maybe an hour or two goes by, you look at your phone, still nothing, you know. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling about that? Be honest with yourself. Doesn't mean you have to stay there. So we're checking the actual bread, the little ball of dough. So it's grown, it's probably doubled by now. And you're supposed to punch it and then knead it again and let it rise again, depending on the kind of bread you're making. So we do that. So what are we doing? We're not punching ourselves, but we are checking ourselves. How are we? I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling bummed. Why can't, what's wrong? And if you're feeling angry, I'm feeling angry. That asshole, he hasn't called me back yet. Just say it. There's nothing wrong with just getting it out. Because once it's out, it can just float away. It's not going to attach itself to your couch and you sit down and grab you. No, it's just let it go.
Just don't say
Let,
it to him.
yeah, just don't say it to him. Don't. And
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done it. Let me tell you, I'm sure we've all done it.
We've
I've
all
done
been
it.
there.
Yeah, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, yeah. I just wrote to the ladies in my group something about that, and just acknowledging the fact that we might feel, what the hell is wrong with him? Just kind of
Right.
acknowledge it, let it out of yourself with
Yes.
yourself, not
Yes.
or your coach,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not to him.
Yeah. And that's the whole, like when you talk about making a loaf of bread and you punch it, it kind of like the air goes out. And I mean, I don't know if it really does, but that's just what
It
I
does.
imagine. So
So
it's the same thing. Let it out, you know, imagine him in front of you. Tell him, why do you have to be an asshole? You said you were going to call back and you didn't, you know. But I mean, I've even cried, doing that. I've even cried and just been like, just just out of frustration. And then I feel amazing afterwards. And then I can really just let it go. Because then I start thinking about, you know what? I'm making this really nice, soft loaf of bread, have a nice little crust on the outside. When I cut it open, it's soft and bouncy on the inside. He's not giving that to me, you know? And then sometimes when I continue to focus on myself and not on him, then he ends up calling, hey, sorry, got a flat tire. Hey, sorry, my mom called. Hey, sorry, are you still available? Whatever. But I have also had the ones who they call or text and act like nothing ever happened and act like they never, that they did not follow through. Like they're acting like everything is great, and they're not interested in if I'm okay, as far as, looking forward to spending time or whatever it was. And those I had to be honest with myself. That's not the dynamic I'm looking for. So I
right.
pay attention to how I feel when I'm with him and when I'm not with him. So
Yeah, that's really important. That's one of the things that can be an outcome of paying attention to your feelings, because you don't have to just accept whatever they're dishing out, whatever they're serving.
right, exactly. And what if there's okay, so if somebody's vegan and they keep serving you lamb, beef, chicken, they keep serving, you know what I mean? That's you, it might feel insensitive. You
Right.
have to don't necessarily be mad at him, but check in with yourself. How do I feel? Some people might want someone to eat the same as them. Some people may not care. Some people, I for one, I don't really care a whole lot. I can eat healthier and I can also eat, the rainbow. And I'm pretty open. I'm pretty laid back in that area. So I don't really mind too much as long as I'm getting a variety and the flavors feel yummy to me. I'm good. But some people they know, oh no, I can't live without this. I can't live without that. Fine, own it. There's nothing wrong with it. So if this other person, whether male or female, doesn't agree with what you want to eat, it's okay.
Hmm.
I love to make, like I'm thinking about all these different breads, but I used to make a challah bread and I loved it because you make a braid, and so I was feeling really special, like I was really doing something. And I love the bread. It's so soft and tasty to me. Um, but if somebody said, "Hey, I want to put nuts in it," that's not going to work for me. You know what I mean? Or even olives. I like olives, but not in my bread. I'm just not, it's just not my thing. So does it mean that we can no longer be together? No, not at all. We can allow each other to be who we are. But if there's so many things where we're just completely different, and maybe we're running parallel, we both want a committed relationship, we both want marriage, we both want, a really good quality person, but we're not together, we're just side by side all the time, it may not be a match. Nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad thing. But that person helps you get closer and closer to whoever your person will be, and you become more and more clear about what you like. What kind of restaurants you like to go to. You know, I like Italian food, but I don't like all Italian restaurants. So,
That's why dating multiple men when you're single is so important, because you can get attached to one guy And you learn later on that he has all these ingredients that you weren't looking for and you don't even want. And then you're like, okay, now we have these problems where if
Mm.
you had, had guys in rotation, you could experiment with different ingredients and
Yeah,
say, you know,
you could. And what about like if ingredients are being used and sharing, not I'm allergic, but maybe, you know, nuts don't feel good for me when they're in cookies or bread, but I like to eat nuts, in a handful.
right,
I think we can communicate.
right,
We can share what we like and don't like. You know, this gentleman that I spent the day with, we had a great day the whole day, and then towards the end of the evening, we were just kind of relaxing and talking, and he was doing a couple things, and he was like, "Hey, do you mind if I," and I was just kind of like relaxing on the couch, and he's sitting in a chair, and I was like, "No, go ahead, be you." He just wanted to kind of just kind of decompress for a moment. And he's just kind of sitting there reading. He didn't have to be right next to me. I didn't feel like, oh, great. We had this great day and now he's not even going to come sit next to me. He just needed to kind of sit and relax. But how great to see that in the first day. You know what I mean? So I can know, okay, this person, when he spent a lot of hours, with me or a woman, he might need a little bit of time to kind of rest, decompress for like 20 minutes,
yeah,
And then afterwards, he came over to the couch and we're talking again and just picking up where we left off. So, I think so I think it's good just to allow people to be who they are. You might be surprised. You might think, oh gosh, this is not for me. But then they just completely surprise you. And you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize he was just kind of rejuvenating or just whatever it is, you know?
yeah. Oh, awesome. Speaking of dating, say we're online dating for our single ladies out there, and I recommend highly because it's a great way to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
But some of the ingredients that they're putting in are frustration, judgment.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it in terms of ingredients, those probably aren't the best ingredients to, put into your online dating adventure.
Right. And then you want to have kindness and love and attention or gifts or time or whatever.
Affecting them, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, if you want to have, I think it's really important to figure out what it is you'd like to have and what kind of relationship dynamic you're looking for. And it doesn't matter if a particular man pops into your mind or not. Just have the idea of what you would like. Um, for me, I like variety. So somebody who only likes to do one thing, if they only like to go biking or they only want to go hiking, that's not going to work for me. But I love biking and I love hiking. I like variety.
yeah,
So you have to figure out what you like and be okay with it and really own it. You know, um, it's so if you want, okay, so okay, so some single ladies, it depends what they want. Some might want marriage and a relationship. Some might want just hang out and meet somebody new. And it's okay to be honest about that.
yeah,
I found that some men that I've met with online dating some years ago, they were really receptive. That I was pretty open and saying, yeah, I'd like to have committed relationship and eventually marriage. And I've been married, so getting married again is not something where it's at the like yeah, I already have a child. So I recognize I'm not feeling like I gotta do this now. So I get that. But I met some really great men. We were not a match, but they're still great men, and they were like, wow, your profile was really refreshing. I mean, it was very clear and it was kind. I think kindness goes a long way for us women, to be open and receptive to men, and not be like, have your list. I want this. How about it would feel good to, and then say it. It's so much, men like that so much more. And you still get to be you. You're not dumbing yourself down. You're not becoming a doormat. You still get to be you. And then if you're wanting a masculine man, now if you're wanting, somebody different, then we have to talk about that too.
Yeah, a lot of women don't understand that men want to know what we're feeling,
Yeah.
like because we're a woman, so they want that whole experience. And I love what you said about figure out what you want, figure
Mhm.
out how you want to feel. So I would even suggest writing down the feeling ingredients that you want for your online dating adventure. And
Yes.
then when you realize that, suspicion and judgment and impatience, well, that doesn't really match, with the way you would like your adventure
Yeah.
to feel.
Yeah.
So that gives you the
Absolutely.
opportunity to go, wow, I need to choose some new ingredients.
Yeah. I love this. Cooking with Brenda and Beth. This is great. So when you were talking, Brenda, it made me think about the cast iron skillet. The cast iron skillet could be seasoned with lots of yummy little seasonings from previous cookings. You don't scrub wash it very often, with soap and water. And that's so the skillet has a nice flavor when you're cooking dishes. So when with what you were talking about, that's what it made me think of. And if we are all cast iron skillets, and I don't mean in the sense of strong, a man can't get to us, just what we carry, we have all kinds of seasonings, in the walls of our skillet from when we were 5, maybe 13, 27, whatever. And a lot of times I notice with coaching, with what we do, is men and women, they will say something and put it on their partner or their date as what that other person did. And my thing is, did you ever feel this way before you met this person? And it doesn't mean that a previous person did the exact same thing, but did you ever feel suspicious? Did you ever feel judgmental before? Okay. Did you know this person when you were 10 or when you were 15? I mean, because you may have learned to be judgmental from a parent. Maybe the grades, you didn't color in the lines well enough, or the grades weren't good enough, or the room wasn't clean enough, or you played a sport and you didn't get the accolades you really wanted and appreciated from a parent. So a lot of things we learn from while we're growing up. And then we get into these situations or attract more situations that repeat that same kind of feeling. But if you really want to go back, and I don't mean blame, but like you really want to go back to where it all came from, more often than not, it came before you met this person now. Um, so we want to be careful about making the current person pay for what somebody else did.
For the seasonings that are already in your skillet. That's
Yes.
brilliant. That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why like it's so important to identify our feelings and
Yeah.
take ownership of them.
Hmm. Yeah. If I took you to my spice rack, oh, I got everything. I've got, you know, feeling loving, kind, bored. I've got feeling anxious, nervous, frustration, anger. I've got feeling sleepy, feeling, energetic. I've got everything over there. And when you become feeling comfortable with yourself, you no longer get mad at yourself. Now, I may still judge myself. I may, but I'll catch myself and kind of laugh. I can laugh it off, and I just remind myself it's okay. You'll get another chance. Like if I thought, dang it, I did it. I didn't want to, and I did it with so and so, and I just tell myself it's okay. You'll get another chance to get it right the next time.
Yeah, and we can reframe that as just catching it. Oh wow, oh, there we go again.
Exactly.
I caught it,
Exactly.
and then
Yep.
eventually, that awareness will just be, oh, you know what? I don't need that ingredient anymore. Like, I'm gonna put that back on the shelf.
Exactly. And it kind of it gets a little dusty. Maybe it expires. You got to toss it out. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it feels amazing to be able to, you know, make a mistake, and I know we can't do anything wrong, but I have felt like, oh, I screwed up. And it feels amazing to not beat myself up for it, you know. And I was a really good beat myself upper person. I really, I was really good at that. So for all of you out there who, you feel like, will you ever, be kind to yourself? You will. Stay on this, journey you're on. Keep going. It does get better. It
Yeah.
really does.
I was just gonna ask you something. Do you have like um, any other situations that are common? How about using feelings as ingredients just for ourselves?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
Just
it's
for, like, how would I like to feel on a daily basis? What's
yeah,
my vision for myself?
yeah.
I'm gonna put
Um,
a feelings list in down in the comments. I'm gonna add it. We've got this really
okay.
nice feelings list. And
Yeah.
what kind of feelings do we want as ingredients for ourselves? Because we get to create ourselves.
We do. We do. And I do believe that the more we look for the feelings of how we want to feel, even if you don't feel it today, like if you're feeling sad, depressed, lonely, anxious, bitter, all those are really yummy ones. Bitter, resentment, those are tasty. If you're feeling those things, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you whatsoever, and you can still choose. So my thing is the first step would be choose something that feels better. And my desire is to live at love and above. That's my I've had that back when I was married. So I've had that like in my head like 15, 20 years now. I was like love and above, love. I just want to live at love and above, love and above. And I feel like the last couple of years, I really have been doing that. And more so in the last maybe 8 or 10 months. And it is a journey, it is a process. So I get up in the morning and I just take a moment just to pause once I realize I'm like, oh, I'm waking up. And I just kind of go, okay, and I'll check in. How am I feeling? And a lot of times now I'm feeling really, really good. I'm feeling eager for the day. I'm feeling excited. If it's raining, I'm feeling excited that I get to take things slow and relax. If it's sunny, I'm feeling excited because I see some blue sky and I hear some birds. If it's snowing, I'm feeling excited because it's so pretty. I mean, and it's funny to me because I used to get sad when I saw the sun out. When I first got my divorce, I'd be like, oh, gosh, the sun is out again. Like everybody's having a great time, and I'm here sad and depressed, and and just not knowing what I'm doing with my life and where I'm going next. And you know what I mean? It was just bizarre. It doesn't mean like how you feel. It doesn't mean it's always going to make sense. And I had a girlfriend, we kind of, we would crack up and I was like, oh, it's sunny again. And I would be upset. But to feel better, we have to choose to want to feel better. And so that's really where I started at was I choose to feel better. Does it mean you're going to be successful every day? Not necessarily. And you might even just feel good for like 5 minutes and then the whole rest of the day is awful. But then if you can feel good, 10 minutes a couple days later, 30 minutes, or 5 minutes at 4 different times, you don't have any parameters, don't have any boundaries on yourself or rules. Like you got to do this, first in order to feel good. Just choose to feel good. And I like to just open up. I mean, physically, I will just lay there and just open myself up and I open my arms up and I'll just, I'm just open. And then I even feel open more and more. So now when I say it, I'll say, I'm feeling open to all the good that there is for me today. You know, I say different ways depending on what's going on. And if I wake up feeling kind of sleepy and sad or something, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, I'm gonna choose a better feeling thought. What can that be? And I'll just, you know, doesn't matter if you agree with it in the moment, just choose to feel better. And your mind will start to look for things that feel better and better and better.
What that made me think of when you were talking about, having all these different feelings and feeling the ones that necessarily aren't as pleasant or whatever, I thought of like cooking some soup, and you go and you taste it,
Yeah.
and you're kind of experimenting with the flavors and stuff, and you're like, oh, there's a little bit too much or not enough of this. And
Hmm.
so you just get the ingredient and you put it in, and you
Hmm.
know, and as it simmers along, maybe it's one of those soups that's going to simmer for 2 hours or something. You keep tasting it and you keep adjusting it. And we can do the same thing with our feelings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And and you think about soups, they do like the flavors kind of grow over time. The next day, you pull it out of the refrigerator and you heat it up. It might taste different than the first time. And I remember like the first time I made a chili, I didn't really taste the flavors. And then the next day I was like, ooh, gosh, because I had put too much trying to compensate because I wasn't really getting the flavors the first time I made the batch. But the next day, the flavors had all really like had a chance to marinate with everything else and it just took over. So, but hey, it was an adventure, it was something you try it, you learn, you realize, you know what? A little less is more. It's okay. We don't have to always,
Get it
you
perfect.
know, yeah, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have these big paragraphs of explanations when we talk, to our partner, and I want this and that, and here's why, and da 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 da. What about just experiencing it, and then back to the phone call. If you're with somebody, you've been talking to them a little bit, you feel comfortable, you won't be upset if you don't hear back from them, then you check. So you got to check in with yourself. How will I feel if I send this text and they don't respond? How will I feel? Then you might say, hey, just, just thinking about you, feeling smiley and wishing I could hear your voice, you know, and you never know, your phone might ring. But you got to be able to do it from a place of feeling good, not from a place of trying to make something happen, because then it's not authentic. You want to be able to be you. And I'd say that's the biggest thing. Like, so if anybody who knows about Southern cooking, they'll make a roux, a
Yeah.
lot of roux. Yeah.
Made a
Are,
roux yesterday. Well, probably
see?
the French equivalent, but the flavor
Mm-hmm.
base.
Nice. What did you make?
I made a pasta sauce with a French
Oh,
base.
yummy. Okay. So the French style roux, and roux is actually French anyways, which is funny.
Okay.
So, but I was thinking probably what you were thinking, the brown kind of roux when that's common to make a lot of Southern dishes before, making something else. So you made yours, the paste for your pasta. So we'll go with yours. So if you're making this pasta sauce and, oh, see, I just lost what I was going to say. Got
Roux,
it.
Southern cooking, pasta sauce.
There was some reason why I said it. Oh, it'll come back. It'll come
Yeah.
back.
Well,
So,
I think you have so many sweet ideas.
thanks.
I really do. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I just, I've told you, what I observe in you. You have this warmth and sweetness. And you always bring new, warm, and sweet insight to some of the ideas I have. And I just really love that about you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So,
Thank you for
yeah.
having me. It's
Yeah.
been wonderful. And
I'm so glad
so,
we got to talk today. And I definitely want to do this again because I have so many other ideas of things that I want to talk to you about. But
okay.
I'll leave that for the next time. Anything you want to leave us with, or
Um, just, just try to embrace where you are as being okay. You
Yeah.
know, this is everything that's happened to you up to this point, whether you're 18, 37, 22, 49, you know, that's me, you're, whatever it is, 65, 83, wherever you are, just, just know there's all these different events that happen. You're like a culmination of everything to today. So if you're wanting to make a shift, think of it like learning a new language, or you're learning to ride a horse. And I actually, I'm learning how to play tennis. I love sports. I love playing, I love watching and going to games and all of that kind of stuff. So, with COVID happening all over the world, there's not a whole lot of activities. And I used to play softball, and so we hadn't had softball. Um, and so I'm playing tennis now. I'm learning, let me say that. I'm learning how to play tennis. And, when I first came out there was a gentleman who worked with me. He didn't know me from anything. And he would tell me to do something a certain way, and I would do it. And then I'd whack it, and the ball goes over the fence. And I was like, oh my gosh, sorry, sorry. And then I hit it, the other way, the backhand, and then I do it right, and I do what he said, and then I'd whack it and then go somewhere else in one of the other courts. And he got really frustrated. So at the end of the lesson, I told him, I said, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time you took. And, this was really great. And he was just like shaking his head and muttering. And so this is a perfect example of judgment. He didn't know me at all. He was just like, thanking me for what? And I wish I could do his deep voice. I said, well, for teaching me how to play. Teaching you? You didn't learn anything.
Oh my.
I said, oh, I said, well, I did. Now this is where I'm feeling confident. Now, if this was 5, 10 years ago, I might have been like, oh, I didn't learn anything. You know what I mean? I would have let him label me, but I know I had never played before. So I did not know anything before. And what he was telling me, I was trying to apply. So when he said, you didn't learn anything. And I said, well, actually I did. Um, I said, but thank you. And I realized we got kind of quiet. We're picking up the balls all around. And then I realized, I don't think he realizes I've never played before. So I said, are you aware that this was my first time playing? And he was just kind of like, but I said it nicely. And that's
Right.
also where 5 years ago, I might have had an attitude, a chip on my shoulder.
That was
Like, dude,
that
really?
ingredient.
Right, right. So I don't know. I just have this thing about, letting him be who he was. And I kind of found amusement in it, not to mock him, but it felt really great not to take his judgment and put it on. Like, this is like the whole t-shirt. I don't want to put on anything that doesn't feel good. And I was like, hey, you know what? Are you aware that today was my first day? And then he was like, he stopped completely in his tracks. He said, what? Today was your first day? And I said, yes. You've never played tennis before? He said, no, I've never played. He was like, you did great. And he was going on and on and on. It's all about perspective. So we have to look at ourselves, you know, turn the heat up, turn it down. If it's cooking too fast, ladies and gentlemen, turn the heat down. It's cooking too slow, turn it up a little bit, but just be kind to yourself. Don't,
And others.
yeah, 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 yeah. I easily could have rubbed it in. We laugh at it now when we see
Yeah.
each other, but he thought he was so mad. But my technique, because I'm athletic, it would be really good one time, and then it would be awful 7 or 8 more. And he was just like, she's just not even listening. She's just doing whatever she wants to do. And so it also taught me with men, it reinforces, and then especially if you have kids, to reinforce, people aren't trying to piss us off.
No.
People aren't just out there trying to hurt our feelings. They're trying to sow good ingredients as well. They're trying to cook with yummy things as well. you know, and if we can kind of take that in and be like, okay, okay, you know, they gave me a little burnt cheese sandwich, no problem, I'll just scrape it off. No worries, no, they meant well, they meant well.
Well, that's a really nice way to end this. I adore you. I love you dearly. I'm gonna put your information in the post, so if anybody wants to go to your website, they can go and visit you. And I will
Okay,
talk to you soon.
bye, thank you so
You.
much.
All right. Mwah.
Bye.